and welcome to Purposeful Empathy, a show dedicated to conversations with people who want to grow and spread empathy throughout the world. Welcome everyone to another edition of Purposeful Empathy. Today I am joined by the fabulous Lisa Gallagher, who is actually the director of the McGill CPE, what does that stand for exactly?
Centre de la Petite Enfance.
Centre de la Petite Enfance. So in English, that would translate to the Center of Children?
Childcare, a childcare center.
Perfect. And Lisa actually has been recognized for her fabulousness by the former Prime Minister back in 2012 when she won a Certificate of Excellence in Early Childhood Education, which honors, quote, exceptional early childhood educators who help build the foundation that young children need to make the best start in life. So thank you for being with me today, Lisa.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, this morning, it so happens that my daughter is at your daycare. So I've received your emails on a regular basis for more than a year now. And today, I'm sure it had nothing to do with us talking today, but today you sent out a message to all the parents, just sharing a reflection and an observation that you had based on what was happening in the daycare. Do you want to tell us what happened?
Yes, well, when I arrived this morning, I like to do a little walk through the daycare, say good morning to everybody, and we have 10 different classrooms, and I had stopped by one of the classrooms. Sorry, excuse me. Yes, I like to do, when I arrive in the morning, to go around and say good morning to everybody in the daycare. So I had arrived at this one classroom and was having a little exchange with one of the educators, and we stopped mid-sentence to see these beautiful big white, I say beautiful now, but at the moment I didn't feel beautiful. These snowflakes were falling. And the children just gravitated to that bay window and they were awestruck by the snowflakes. And they all started saying, exclaiming, "It's snowing, look at the snow." And they're clambering up on the bay window. And it caught me in that moment to say, it is a beautiful moment. Stop for a second and see and feel their joy in that moment. Because the first thing that popped in my head was, it's not even Halloween and it's snowing out there. It was not a happy instant moment that came to me until I saw them. And so then when I walked away from that classroom, I thought, thank you so much for that present, joyful moment, because children's lives are full of them. And that's just, if we take the moment to see it, that's what makes the days beautiful with them. We're so fortunate to be with them every day.
Yeah, they have so much to teach us.
This is just daycare life, right?
Yeah.
You have to find a quiet corner in the storage room. My colleagues would actually laugh at this because we often exchange about that to say, where can you find a minute where there isn't going to be something like our toilet is clogged or the back door is stuck or something.
Well, who knows? Maybe part of this is going to stay in the video because I just think it is, charming, but it's also real. And I think it also just underscores the first question that I wanted to ask you. So I'll go to that. Are you okay? Yeah,
I'm good.
Okay. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have you participate on one of these episodes is to have a conversation with you about the realities of providing education during COVID, right? I believe, and I've always believed that, nurses and teachers, those two groups of professionals are the unsung heroes of our society. And as the director of a daycare, you have observed a lot of change in your career, year to year, and everything that's involved with providing top-notch childcare. But This last year has been exceptional because of COVID, right? So what have you observed in terms of, your educators, in terms of how nimble they've had to be and how much grit and resilience and everything else that they've pulled together that you'd like parents to know about so that we can empathize with your side of the equation?
Well, I think that the whole COVID situation is a first for all of us to live through together. So we're learning every day, we're experiencing every day. In the very beginning, I think right from the beginning, what we're trying to do is do it well, is keep everyone safe, is make sure that we're taking our responsibility to the degree that it needs to be when we're responsible for other people's children. And then the other side of it is that we have our own families beyond our responsibility at work, that we all have our own elders in our family. We may have people, we may have our own selves not realize that we're vulnerable to something like this, that we have educators who are of an age group that bring so much richness and experience to the daycare, and all of a sudden they can't come because of their age, and they might be putting themselves at a greater risk. So that vulnerability of real life, so many things happen in daycare when you talk about resilience and working on the fly and being able to do things spontaneously, is that in this community we've moved out. We're housed in old, as you know, old what used to be former homes that are full of charm and warmth, and also realistically they're old. So at certain points, a main drain broke and we moved. So we've moved the daycare in small pieces. We've moved everybody at the same time. So we've been through a lot of change together, but nothing that compares to this, that brings your real life here. So I think too that when you talk about how parents can maybe be a little bit empathetic, as they always are, but get the reality of what it is for daycare, is that I don't think in my career anyway, there's been anything that has made us feel the real depth of responsibility of keeping children safe and healthy.
Right. So it's not just sort of like, keeping children occupied, busy with the blocks and the books, but there's a gravitas that comes with the role now that like never before.
Yes, because it's their physical health, but also we hear it's a bit of a catch-22 in that we usually have all of the families are able to come. We have an open door policy, and families can be here, and we get to have coffee socials with parents and really get little glimpses of their life, because a childcare center is really a family center. You're welcoming a family. Children are not in a bubble that they get dropped off here and their family is out there somewhere. We're welcoming families to a community. And during COVID, families are not actually present in the daycare. And yet there are connections where I feel that families are emailing me so many more things that I may not have known before. Like, my family is in another part of the world, and I haven't seen them for months. And will I be at risk of losing my daycare place if I go and visit my family? The fear of traveling, but the need to go to family, and then the other idea of, well, my relatives are aging, or someone in my family is sick, or just all these real life situations that make us even more aware of the fact that we're a community of families.
Yeah. Now, in my own case, our case with our daughter, I haven't seen any real change of behavior. She's not had nightmares, and I haven't seen her being particularly consumed by COVID, and I'm grateful for that. But there's like little micro things that have shown up. Like, I can tell that her skin is become a little coarser because she's washing her hands more often and she's using this antibacterial cream. But yes, I imagine that there's like an entire array of ways that COVID is showing up in the lives of children, and that parents are learning what this means. And they have their own realities and their own fears. So what advice would you give to parents in terms of helping them cope and helping their children cope in this really unprecedented time?
I think very much the same that we do as a team here of educators, is that we don't have all of the information, and there's no one size that fits all. Is that really every situation is different, every child is different, every family is different. They react differently to change, and their own full context is very different. Each one is unique. So I think really just being reflective of what does this really mean for our family, for our children? Are we okay right now? Is really the question in this moment. Are we all okay? Because that's what we're kind of doing in the daycare every day is we just open up the paperwork that we receive from public health and look through it and say, okay, let's look together at what is this situation today. If a runny nose has never been so stressful before, a runny nose is a part of childhood. And now all of a sudden, parents phone the daycare and want to talk to you to say, my child has a runny nose and I'm scared. My child has a runny nose and I'm nervous because I had this big important day today, and now because of a runny nose, I want to do the right thing. By my child, I'm pretty sure it's just a runny nose, but it's not pre-COVID times. So runny nose has suddenly become a scary thing for grown-ups of, is it okay? Can we come to daycare? And on our side, it's, oh my goodness, we never would have called parents before for stuffiness or runny nose. We're part of our role is really to support parents in their role as parenting. And studying and working parents, we're a workplace childcare center that we are aware of the reality of our community that everything is new for them in their work too. You know, remote working, the campus is quiet, everything is different. And so for individual families to just, like I said, just say, are we okay in this moment? Is the runny nose really? We'll figure it out. Just one incident at a time. Let's talk about it. We'll go through and make sure we're following the rules, but it's okay.
Now, one of the big deals this week is that we're on the cusp of Halloween. I know that the kids were going to get dressed up on Friday. It's going to be a bit of a bananas, I imagine. It must be one of the best days at the daycare. What advice would you give to parents who are making the tough decision about what to do on Saturday when it's trick-or-treating time?
Coming from it's interesting that you'd say maybe Halloween is one of the most exciting days. It's really like a two-sided issue for early childhood because depending on what age they are, personally and professionally, I think that Halloween, if we look at what is the meaning of Halloween for children, depends on their age. I mean, the youngest kids under 2, it's the grown-ups that have fun dressing up their little ones and taking pictures and smiling, and it's fun to do that with your little ones, but it doesn't really have a meaning for the children. But the thing that's fun for them, I think, is that air that there's a sense of celebration. You know, as with anything else, it's a time if there's more connection of doing things with adults around you. All of a sudden we're all going out for a walk after supper and we're seeing all of our neighbors, and that kind of connectivity is important for families and for children. But depending on their age, I know for the 3-year-olds, very often Halloween is a scary time. They're not sure. They don't know the difference between reality and fantasy. And some of them love to dress up every day. So then it's very exciting because now everybody is dressing up with them. So that's exciting. But then we do have some children who come in and be crying and saying, I don't want to wear that costume. I don't want to get dressed up. And when we look at what children choose if they're the ones choosing what they want to do for Halloween, it's very rarely some kind of elaborate spooky costume that they want. They want to, they love having the wings and pretending they can fly, or just having whiskers on their face or something like that makes them happy. But not every child wants to participate. So I think, again, is what's the meaning of it? I mean, making orange Play-Doh with your teacher is really fun. Doing baking activities that have to do with pumpkins and all the stuff that feels kind of like a celebration. We're all doing fun things together is great. And so when you think about families and what should they do, as with everything else, I think the place to start is really ask your children, what do they want? What are they excited about it? Are they not excited about it? Really just asking them, what is Halloween for you? What do you want to do? Very often here, it's the favorite repetitive rhymes and songs and stories that they love. And that will happen anyway. So if parents want to know, what do you sing and what do you read and what's going on at the daycare that we can do at home. But when it comes to the trick-or-treating and the going out and the candy and stuff like that, I think it's really individual in your family. Check in with your kids of what do they want about Halloween and what could you make happen around that. It might not be the whole let's get in costumes and go trick-or-treating.
Right. Well, you've done full circle. You've imagined what the children's wants and needs are. Let's empathize with them. And let's continue to empathize with the educators because they deserve the empathy. And then also you've talked about having empathy for the parents in terms of all the changes that are going on. So I can't thank you enough for the leadership that you are showing at Scipio McGill. And on behalf of the entire profession, just want to say a great big thanks, especially in these days.
Thank you, Anita, and thank you for all the wonderful work you do on empathy. I can't read and learn enough about empathy every day and the huge impact that your work does. So thank you for having me.
Thanks. Have a good afternoon. I'm sorry you're down in the basement.
Yeah, I'm actually upstairs in the storage room right above the office.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.